This review covers the Don Shoemaker Stardust Barracuda Funny Car. It was released as kit number 6503 in 1999, and it's a 125 scale kit from Polar Lights. It's a skill level 3 kit for the intermediate builder. Now, the legendary Don Shoemaker was one of the top funny car match racers in the 60s and 70s. He helped develop the funny car class. He won 5 NHRA national events along the way in nearly 3/4 of his 560 match racers. He was one of the best. Now, this is a single-purpose build kit with no extra parts, but there's a choice of wheels, optional gauges, and some different decals for different sponsors, some of which, in fact, were missing. This was an eBay sourced kit. It looks like it's all there, but be careful when you buy those kits. We had to substitute some parts. It contains originally 121 pieces, molded in white, chrome, and clear. It's rated as a skill level 3, and that's pretty close. The instruction sheet's a little bit vague in areas, which make it kind of confusing sometimes. Some of the parts that weren't described in the instructions we'll discuss in the review. And when you're done, the finished kit will measure 8.5 inches long, 2¼ inches high, and 3 inches wide. Here are the parts for the kit. As you can see, they're pretty cleanly molded. There's just the normal parting lines, very little flash, nice chrome, and some nicely clear pieces for the window glass. Here are the decals for the kit. Now, let's talk about that. Race cars are always going through changes, and the decal sheet here reflects that. I found that some of the decals had changed over time. For example, the bob for the Bob's torque flights and transmissions changed to B&M, and that changed over time right on the car too. So find a place in time you like best as far as the amount of decals on the car that you want to build, and just build it that way. This is an extensive sheet, and it's printed very well, but they're very thin, they're old, because it's 25-year-old kit. So I clear coated the sheet, and some still came apart. You may need to spray these old decals 2 or 3 times to get them to stay together. So here are the basic modules for our mighty 426 Hemi engine. You see the large blower there, and transmission, and the instructions don't really show you the modules. They just kind of have an entirely exploded view of everything. So put these together and set them aside to dry. The kit comes with this blower belt, and rather than having the belt molded onto the pulleys, but unfortunately it's really too small and shaped wrong anyway. So I replaced this with some 1/8 inch matte black striping tape, or chart tape as it's called. You can get that in a lot of different places. Anyway, 1/8 inch wide. You may want to wrap it around the pulleys a couple of times for thickness. Just make sure it has a flat black appearance from the outside. And so put the modules together. As you can see, here's your engine completed with that nice looking custom blower belt. And you're going to find that it's got a nice look to it once it's assembled. The chrome really stands out, and it makes for a nice looking motor. So you see here the whole frame rails and lower chassis. Now go ahead and paint the frame rails and the cross members body color. And the instructions, they show most of the parts as just an exploded view. So assemble this on a flat surface so that everything is flat and relatively square. Next, we'll add the suspension pieces to the front and rear. As you can see, most of those are chromed, along with those fuel tanks. And remember, you got to scrape that chrome plating off before the parts will stick together. Glue doesn't work on plating. Now assemble the pieces for the cockpit and also the exhaust headers. They're painted a flat black, but the bluish colors there are painted body and aluminum frame, parts for the cockpit, along with the seat and the attendant pieces. Once you've had the pieces all out and detailed, the seat belt, the extinguisher there, and the dash components, etc., go ahead and assemble that. Remember, you have to scrape the paint off too if you want the parts to stick together. The original kit tires were two-piece vinyl units with no sidewall detail. And I've seen this kit with pad printed slicks on it, but I think those are aftermarket parts. So I went ahead and got some parts from my spare box, and there were some Goodyear stickers on the decal sheet, so I added these great looking Goodyear slicks, and fortunately the wheels were there, so they're just really nice. Those are painted up in a gold style and assembled. Gather up the parts for the rear brake units and paint those steel colored. Now let's talk about the steering linkage parts you see here. This is a place where the instructions are vague, and the linkage needs to be put into place, but the completed cockpit isn't shown in the drawing. So the steering linkage goes into the steering shaft, which is located on the left side of the roll cage, and the linkage assemblies, they go on the left side of the front axle, just inside of where the front wheel is pushed on. So assemble the linkage before the front wheels are put into place. So as you see here, you can put all of those components into place now. Once that linkage is together, you can pop the wheels into place, add the rest of the drivetrain portions of the motor and the cockpit to the chassis. You can see the parting lines marked out here in red. They go on the ridges, of course, up the C-pillar and down around the front and the back grill and bumper areas. So those need to be removed, either scrape them off or sand them off with some sanding sticks till they're nice and smooth. Once I was happy with the body cleanup, I gave it a light coat of primer, and then I sprayed it with some blue that is closely similar to the Stardust car. Here are the interior panels, and they're painted aluminum, and set them aside to dry. Once that blue is dry on the exterior, flip that body over and paint the flat black areas that you see here, along with the aluminum panels up towards what we would call the underside of the hood. Once that's done, you can go ahead and install the interior panels into place. Here you see that parachute on the right there is painted flat black, and the mounting plate on the left is painted aluminum color. You can put the main decals and the sponsor decals of choice onto your body now, and once they have dried, go ahead and glue that chute into position on the back of the vehicle. Here's what's left over from the kit, mostly decals from different sponsors, etc., the wheels, and some glass pieces that aren't used on the funny car. Well, put that prop rod in place and set the body on the hinges and back, and by golly, you've got yourself a winner. This gorgeous looking car was originally the California Flash's funny car, but Don Shoemaker not only bought it, changed its appearance, and refined its drivetrain, but he innovated a lot of pieces that made it a winner. One of the passes that he made was a record in NHRA history books, and he did a lot for the entire industry, and still his shop goes on that produces performance parts. But if I were you, I'd find one, I'd buy it, and I'd put it on my shelf.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations, where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.